Oh, it looks cool. I'm just saying it looks cool. That's
You 17.
All right, let's go.
Everyone stand up, face the east.
Slice the move to you.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
All love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah, my protector.
Allah, my protector.
My guide.
And my salvation.
By night. And by day.
To his holy prophet. Noble Dwelling. Allah. Islam, boys. Have fun downstairs.
Yeah, remember, just hoping to have someone for the wild ones. So there you go. That's good.
Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work in their homes around the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will have severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Juali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting your prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Juali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to your prophet and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Juali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your prophet Noble Juali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to the divine prophet, I Noble Juali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every spirit is moving, every evil spirit is moving. And they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Juali. Islam. So every February we do our Moorish History Month in order to correct the fraud of Black history, being that we don't classify ourselves as Negro, Black, colored, or anything like that. So anything pertaining to that, we don't want anything to do with, because we see it as part of the denationalization program of the foreign occupying force in our land. So with acknowledging that we are Moors, the time that our people use as know their self and celebrate their history and whatever, we take that time to make sure we present the Moorish perspective during this time of month, because we're also talking about, everything's happening during this time, right? If you check the energies of the world, especially as far as North America is concerned, there's a lot of things that are revolving around this time frame, because they know our people's energy is used most in this time period. So they can get them to divert their attention from where it's supposed to be to things that have nothing to do with them. But they just think they're part of it because they're in the stands, or they think they're part of it because they could put it on a station or a channel and see something. They win the game. And the whole point is getting our people back to the mindset of their ancient foremothers and forefathers, so that they can start handling their own affairs and not have to rely on others to do it, which is why we got into the position that we're at, because we had certain lessons that were given to us by Noble Juwali that we go around today and we ask people who Martin Luther King is, everybody knows, and who's Noble Juwali, nobody knows. When what he presented was for the salvation of our people, the same salvation that they've been begging for and claiming that all these different people came for them, when it really wasn't a reality that it came for them like that. So a couple of his readings relative to this time of year, just to put it out there. Nickname, this is one of the articles that was in the Moorish Guide newspaper. When the forefathers of the Moorish Americans were first brought to this nation, they had a nationality and a name. But in order to separate them from the achievements of their fathers, a name was given to them which had no connection whatever to the founders of civilization. They were nicknamed Negroes. Today, in this nation, there is no such thing as Negroes in the sense that they are called. Just why so many of the intelligent Americans will continue to cling to this nickname is hard to understand. If you look in some dictionaries, you will see the word Negro means a sly person, a coon. If this is not an insult to the illustrious history of a nation, there can never be one given. Just as they have saddled on the Moorish Americans the name Negro, they have also given him a religion that was made to enslave him and stop his progress. It is the duty of every man who lives to redeem the name of his forefathers and not be herded into a mass of weaklings. Stop referring to yourself as Negro, colored, and Black, for you are neither. You are men. American citizens, speak up for yourselves, or it will never be done. As long as you wear the clothes of another, or live in the house of another, or depend on another in any manner, you are truly a slave to them. If you would be free, indeed, you must seek the truth. You must know the truth of your nationality and the name of your people. You must not be a coward and deny yourself the personal rights that belong to every man. So we've taken the position of, our people have taken the position of not accepting that we have a nationality, that we have a name, that when we go to any other national and we say, what's your name? And then when we give them ours, they're looking at us funny because most of the time our name is European. And they know we're not European. And if Chinese guy says my name is Ben Shin, at home he's called Hole whatever. He's not Ben at home when he's with his nation. So by us saying Black History Month and adopting that as our history, we're actually limiting our history to the 15th, 16th century, which is when that word came into existence. And the white man didn't do that. We did that. Because it was our so-called leaders telling us about Black history. It was our so-called leader that said Black History Month, and then it was actually a week. We got extended to a month. And that's how they play with our people. Because they know without us having a knowledge of who we are or knowledge of our nationality, then we fall victim to the ones who have nationalities. And then the ones who have nationalities aren't obligated to tell us certain things. Like we can say as Moors, you can talk to Brother Noir right back there, he'll tell you of people in his line of work that when he was Negro, they didn't have no conversation with him. But now that he's a Moor and he wears a fez and all that stuff, now everybody knows something and they want to impart some knowledge or whatever. But when you were a Negro, they didn't want to tell you anything for free. Which lets us know that they know. Because nobody's going to impart knowledge on an ignorant person. They're just not going to do that because they're not going to do nothing with it. Right? But then our people's position is everybody is racist against us. Everybody is racism. They keep playing the race thing, which race goes back into European psychology. But there's really only one race, the human race. And the human race is divided up into different nations all over the world. And all these nations have a flag, a language, culture, a certain way that they dress, a certain way that they talk, certain mannerisms, whatever like that. That's what makes them up. And then we look at us and we say, you know, the only time you see us wave flags is Caravan. And then everybody has 50 different flags, which clearly means these people don't know themselves. Because when the Sri Lankans go shut down the garden or whatever like that, they are one flag flying. If they have some Greek day or whatever like that, taste of the Danforth and all that stuff, all these people got one flag. Our thing, 50 different flags. And then when you check the history of those flags, you realize that most of those are banners. They're not even flags. Because if you can't go to the UN and see that there, or you can't go to the Organization of American States and see it there, and see a history with it, with a people, then it's probably not a reality like that. If we're in a position where we used to be able to export certain products in our country, then all of a sudden we took some loan from somebody and now we can't even export our own stuff that grows there. And the stuff that grows there we can't export, but we can import it. And then you're paying to do that when you could just put something in the ground and stuff grow forever. So, and they only do this to certain people. They don't do this across the board to everybody. They only do this to people who don't know the truth about their nationality and their birthrights, which is the whole point of why it is that we're doing what we're doing, to bring back this mindset to our people so they can start actually really saving themselves for real, instead of relying and waiting on somebody to come and save them. That's really going to be the individual, right? Anybody in here with fezzes on, they had a eureka moment when they came into this. And then they realized that this is who they always been. This is not some new group they're joining or something like that, or, you know, I found out about this thing, so I'm going to be, like, this is something that was ingrained in us. And something went off. that made us realize that, okay, yeah, there's a lot more to know thyself than just read some Afrocentric books. Or, you know, that guy over there, he went around the world and he went to Africa and took pictures and now he presented results. This is who you are and all that. And then none of that is reflected in society's perspective of us. Everybody knows we're the ancient whoever, but we're not getting the respect of that. When everybody knows we're that, it should be automatic that they respect us. If it's like that, how come? Because of our status, us not having a nationality, which goes in line with the things that you're doing. That the people who are so-called in charge have taken the position of colonizing the planet. So anytime you hear cross the border, there's probably a colonial that put that border there. And then they put it there in order to regulate the people's movement. More so the people who are Aboriginal and Indigenous, because their movement is the only movement that really matters. People who come here from somewhere else and aren't given to the fabric of here, most of the times they take their stuff and go back where they came from. Right? That's one of the lessons that they could take from Akon. That he came here, made millions or whatever, as you know, shake your ass and whatever like that, talk all this type of BS, brainwash whole generations of people, then take all that finance and not do anything here, but go right back over there and start talking about he's gonna build a city, Akonville and all this type of stuff, have Akon money and all this. And then the people here who aren't even from over there, they're talking about take all their stuff from here and go over there. When this is their heritage over here. You know, we came from somewhere else. Like this is where we are the Aboriginal Indigenous people. And because we're that, we have to be, when they say, Canada says, truth and reconciliation for the Indigenous people and all that stuff, it's not because of Indigenous people why they're doing that. It's because of Moors writing these people so much that they had to do something. Because we already know that every single treaty that these people did with the Indians, they broke. Indians will tell you, every treaty they did with us, they broke. That's why we're on the reserve and residential schools and whatever like that. So they're not looking out for any Indigenous people and Métis and all that stuff like that. Everything that they're doing is to save face. Because the world is looking at them and okay, well, what are they going to do? The United States and Canada, which are corporate entities, which are not countries. So foreigner, United States of America, foreigner, Canada, are not countries, are not part of the Americas. Those are foreign colonial jurisdictions, just like Middle East is a foreign colonial jurisdiction. There's not a place on the map called Middle East. That's just a name only. There's something called Middle East. That's not a reality, right? Israel, that's not a reality. That's Palestine. India's a British corporation. That's not a place or a country where people go on a plane and they go to India. They're not going to places. They're going to corporate jurisdictions. So with nationality, you draw the line at how they deal with you. Because they can only deal with corporate people if they're a corporate. They can't deal with natural, living, sentient beings. The natural, living, sentient being should be dealing with themselves. We shouldn't have to call 911. We just call our brother right there. And he should come over and stand between everybody and say, come on, you guys need to stop this or whatever like that and mediate and then figure out the problem and then everybody goes about their business. But as soon as they get involved in it, now they have jurisdiction over the bodies that are there. They have jurisdiction over the territory where those bodies are, whether it's on the street in a car, in a house, in a mansion, in a hospital, whatever, right? And they have jurisdiction over the matters, which is why the first thing that they always do is they come and trash you. So you can go like this, and then now you got a resisting arrest charge. Now they have subject matter jurisdiction because they just created the subject matter. When as soon as they go like this, you should be charging them with assault, even if you're not injured, because they're a quote unquote servant. They're supposed to serve and protect, not violate rights. Right? But back to the case in point that the so-called border is a created place. If they say border, there's certain points on that border where there's nobody there. They might have one guy drive back and forth every hour or whatever, but there's nobody, there's not a fixed individual there to say you can't go back and forth. Right? Now, because we're talking about occupation, certain things we have to let exist, right? Certain things are just going to be there, right? So borders and all that stuff, certain stuff are gonna be there. There's not gonna be some, the Moors woke up and then these people are taking out all the borders because the Moors woke up. Or the Moors woke up, so they're just gonna open the vault in the bank and say, everybody come get what you owe or whatever like that for reparations and be happy and all that stuff. That stuff's not good. Right? Because they've occupied. They use force of arms to control territory that's not theirs, so they're not gonna give that up too easy. When whoever it was that you knew took your bike or whatever, and they didn't want to give it back. It was your dad went to talk to their dad and got your bike back. Right? Like we are our foremothers and forefathers that are gonna have to deal with these people to get our stuff back. And it's how we deal with them. So one of the things with occupation is knowing that everything revolves around contracts. Everything revolves around sign here. Sign here, or yeah, just go peel that thing off the wall or whatever, fill that out and whatever. Just slide that across the desk. Okay, yeah, this is good or whatever. All that is colonial activity. In order for them to have what they would call sovereignty to do certain things. Because once you sign here, you just gave up your rights. And they know that that's why they don't sign. And then that's why we never charge them with, hey, how come you guys are making these fraudulent contracts where I'm signing everything and you sign nothing? Oh, well, we're the institution or bank can't sign and all that stuff. Well, not bank I'm talking to right now. I'm talking to you, Mr. Whatever your name tag right there. Okay, so how come you're not signing nothing? Right? And this is how they go through their existence. They said black people are savages and blah blah blah. And then they come out with a movie, Gods of Egypt, and everybody in there is European. But I thought that stuff was some savages stuff. How come they're emulating the savage people? Because they know where the power lies. The power lies in knowing themselves. Anybody who is European, they really know thyself. They know they come from a system. I don't know a European isn't really their foundation like that. They know their history, but where they come from. And then certain ones accept that, and it's not a big deal. It is what it is. It's just part of their history. right? We have moved away from civics and law and all this stuff and gravitated towards things. Noble Trolley put all that stuff together. So that now you can't, but again, it's such a vast amount of information that we don't know that it has to be given to us in these little stages. Because Noble Trolley made a statement, if I give you everything, you go back to sleep. So I have to portion it off for you in pieces. Because we're looking at not even the time from Noble Trolley. We're looking at the time from when they first started talking this stuff about we're black and we're slaves and all that stuff. You know, we're talking about 400, 600 years of indoctrination, of us not knowing, you know, true geography, us not knowing history, us not knowing law, us not knowing arithmetic, us not knowing anything. And then we're trying to get all that back. And the only way it's going to get back is when we correct how we look at things. So this is part of why there's this repetitious theme with this information, because we know that repetition is how it's gonna sink in. Right? So the idea of us saying that we're Moors and we're nationals and we're whatever is so that we can eliminate the contracts that we've been put under that made us slaves or made us prisoners of war or made us citizens or made us whatever it is that we don't want to be. That we know it's an issue because as soon as we start questioning certain things, now people want to get mad and challenge when you're not just being a dumb nigger. We start asking questions. Hold on a second. How come you guys aren't signing anything and I'm signing everything? Well, you know, all right, cool, no problem. So anytime now when I see you guys, let me say sign here. That's good. That's my signature now. Because I really don't know who you guys are. You know what I mean? I'm in my own land. You're a foreigner. You tell me that that's your name, but I'm not really going to go with it because if I say, let me see your license in your pocket, you're not going to show me because, you know, you don't have to and all this stuff. All right, cool, no problem. This is how you sign. Anytime you're dealing with people, it's telling you sign here. And then when you sign like this, now all of a sudden, they want you to go see the president and all that stuff to explain why you sign like that. Or talk to the lawyer's department or whatever. To find out why are you signing like that? Why are you doing that? Oh, because I'm indigenous, so I have rights. And what you're telling me to sign is a contract, so I'm reserving my rights. Real simple. No different than they have their whatever. They have their golden arches, whatever that is, McDonald's under there. And if you use that, they're gonna sue you. Because they reserve their rights. So that's one place with regard to the colonization.
I got something here that I sent to
Islam one.
I got something here.
So the same way.
that I
Right.
sent to
Yeah, send that around. Right.
here. In a second. See when they sign up. See. Big print, can't say no see. It's their system.
Right. So this is not just, you know, some information that we got some book and then we're presenting that information and then that's what the information is. This is actually applied. Like this is something that's actually being applied right now. This is not, we heard about something or somebody said or whatever. I said, but then somebody verified, yeah, this is how you do it right here on their paper. because obviously there's remedy there, or why do it? Right? Now, again, with him having that power, it's because he knows that all these are indigenous words, not European words. Canada is an indigenous word. Ontario is an indigenous word. Toronto is an indigenous word. But when we talk about jurisdiction, in order for them to have jurisdiction, they have to have it over the body, the individual who's being called into question for whatever. They have to have jurisdiction over the territory, and they have to have jurisdiction over the subject matter in order for anything to move forward. If any of those things are lacking, they can't move forward. And if they do move forward, it just lets you know how criminal they are. And accepting that reality, that, wow, these people are really criminal. If they're gonna void all these things. Now, if he says, I'm indigenous, and he reserved his rights, they can't come against him as Canada, Ontario, or Toronto. So they come against them as Regina. Just when you go check all the court papers, Regina versus whatever, because they know that they don't have jurisdiction here. They have to create a jurisdiction in order to have jurisdiction. Like they made up a being that's going to take people to court, but that individual never has to be there, only its representatives. And its representatives go from judge down to janitor in that place called quote unquote court or whatever that they're going to say is court. And then when you go check with the situation, they're going to say immigration court. There's no such thing called that. That's something that they created in order to only deal with our people. Because remember, everybody else who comes here from somewhere else, they have a nationality. They're not wards. So because they have a nationality, they have certain protections that they can come here and do certain things. But as soon as it's our people trying to come here and do certain things, now there's all these issues. Now they want to do background checks and they want to check this and check that and make sure this and do you have a surety and do you have this and all that? When all that stuff is not needed, these people are foreigners. They really don't have the authority like that. The only way that they have the authority is if we don't reserve our rights. Brother Omar.
I was just going to say, as well as basically all of this nonsense that they're trying to put on is all for some kind of financial aspect. You know, some kind of fiat money that they want. Right? The ability to come onto the land and do that stuff is supposed to be free. Whenever they put it into a corporate jurisdiction like this, you either got to be paying some kind of fee, some kind of administration thing, or more likely you got to pay one of their boys to represent you. Right? The biggest scam is this lawyer thing going on here. You got to get a representative. So that's what it is. It's all about abstracting financing, your energies. So that's really what all that stuff has all been about. What he's really breaking down is they've corporatized everything and made it a business. Stuff that should be free and honorable has now become a business. And that's how they get around not being charged with human rights violations. Because they put you into a corporate place and then it's business. Because what they're saying is that you're a corporation. You're not a person. That's why when you look at your name, and I don't know if you can break that down about how they incorporate the name and make the name all capitals, right?
Yeah.
So that's the other part to it, where you look at all your documents, your names
If you have any stuff in in your purse that you got from them.
So
If you have any type of identification
yeah.
that you got from Canada, Ontario, Toronto, or whatever, all those things, regardless of what it is, right? All those things, once you look at those instruments and you see the name written in all capital letters, that means that they're making you their warrant.
Well,
That means it's making you their property.
more importantly, they're making you a corporation. They're making you a corporation. That's not done by accident. They're making you a corporation, and then whenever they're doing anything to you that would be a human rights violation, they can say, we're not doing it to a human, we're doing it to a corporation. But then if you say that I'm that person and this is my thing, then you're saying, okay, do that to me. And that's done from a stand of saying that you don't know yourself. Basically, obviously, you need us to look after you because you're not smart enough to know that we've incorporated. And that's what's done there.
So when this is why you might hear if you might hear people who are against the whole Moorish paradigm, they'll say that Moors are anti-government and Moors are trying to do this and that because the government is whatever and all this. It's because we're blowing the lid off of this fraud that's going on. That all these institutions have taken the position of business, not integrity. So once they're dealing in business, anything goes in business. You heard of the guy who had his business partner and then business partner ran off with all the finance. That's business. Right? That's what it is. Right? So when you come to the realization that you yourself can't be a business, right? This is what the people who have money or whatever like that know. They know that you could put everything in the business, so they're not responsible. They're not liable. Why do you think Trump could be president with all those bankrupt businesses that he's got? Because nothing was in the name of Trump. Everything was in the business. Everything was in some enterprise or some trust or some whatever, not on the individual. Right? So they want us to take that position, be the business for them to put their stuff in. But all the stuff that they're putting is the negative. They're putting the debt. They're putting their frustration and their anger and their whatever. They're taking out on our people. Because our people choose not to know where it is they're supposed to stand. And again, they have ones from our side that are keeping the ignorance alive to what it is that this thing's really about. And they have been talking about all types of things, other planets and all this type of stuff. They don't know what's going on right in front of their face. Right? Now we want to also make sure that you get to bring up your questions, comments, or whatever like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to just put those up. You know what I mean? Relative to what we're talking about or not, doesn't matter. Just put it out there if you have them.
So we're saying that if you're not part of the corporation, the business enterprise, then they don't have no restriction with you.
Right. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. That concept being a reality is going to be based on where the individual's mindset is.
Right.
Right. So there's different situations that you're going to be dealing with. Right. This information is to trump everything that they try to do to you. But that's not really what this is about like that. This is not about, your shield to deal with them. This is really about your shield to deal with yourself. And then once you get yourself in that right place, right, where everything's lined up properly, then you're not even going to see those people. They're going to become invisible to you. because you would have taken yourself out of the jurisdiction that they're perceiving as the jurisdiction that they have everybody in. Right? Omar, you had something?
Yeah, I'm just going to expound on what you were saying, brother, about the fact about taking yourself out of the jurisdiction. Ultimately, you walk out onto the street, which is the land, you're going to say you're on the street. That's their street, right? You're going to say, you live in this building, but then the building is going to have an address that belongs to them. Ultimately, the deal is that we're looking to get back to our stuff, which is exactly what Kujo's saying. So we have to understand that we probably have a multiplicity of ways that they've connected us to them. Whether it's the birth certificate,
license,
the checks,
working,
license,
taxes, whatever.
Your address where you live, if you're renting in a condominium, all those kind of things, that belongs to them. The duty, like he's saying, is to get out of that, to come back into your own jurisdiction. And that's really, that is what we're talking about defending is the precursor or the beginning of getting back. It's not the end. It's just the beginning. But it's the understanding of what they've been doing to hold you to those things. It's those contracts, the birth certificate, all those things that are holding you to them. And it's about getting those things back. But then the real problem is us as a community being in here where this place should be so packed that you couldn't even get inside here because there's so many of us. But the problem is that that's not where we're at. So the problem is we have to go back on Monday and probably all go back to a slave, a JOB, right? But really, the duty of us is to reclaim our stuff and then come into our own communities and our own land. So this is just the understanding of what things that they've used to keep you in that place and what they use to continue to violate.
So basically what you're saying is that the so-called immigration, and then because you're inadmissible to Canada, you're not supposed to be deported, you to send you back no way.
Right.
And one of the things, just to pick up on that, one of the things that you can talk about from a perspective, we had people talk about this. You're going back to a place that's causing you some distress. You know that they bring refugees here all the time when they say there's all kinds of stuff going on. So just so that you guys can take this into, if you're going back there to some kind of human rights violation stuff or into some kind of depraved and indifferent position, that's a reason why they shouldn't be sending you back anywhere. Remember, you're having an argument with the same people that created the position and the environment that you're talking about. You're sitting down at the table with the criminals, expecting them to be honorable about some stuff.
When they've been doing criminal activity to the point where you're trying to get out of the criminal activity that you know was started by them.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why certain people have come here is because of the criminal activity that they were doing in the very land that you're coming from.
Yeah.
We didn't do that to ourselves over there. More likely it was some colonizer that created that problem. So that's some of the certain positions that you can hold as well. Right?
But remember too
human
that
rights violation.
Yeah,
right?
and then remember too that it's your approach to them. So if your approach to them is, well, I'm indigenous to the West Indies, so you can't do this or whatever, you just put yourself in jurisdiction. Because West Indies is their jurisdiction. Because this is not India. Much less West India. Because nobody could show you a South India and a North India on this side yet. Right? So it's about the language that is being used when you're dealing with them on certain things. Like for example, like with regard to immigration, everybody knows the first immigrants here were Europeans. How are they telling people now that they're sanctioning who could come over and who could not come over when they themselves are immigrants and they don't have visa and green card and all that stuff to show?
So I'm here and something happened. I got arrested by the police and I have to go to court in front of a judge, And I standing there and I said to the judge that you don't have jurisdiction over me.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I don't belong to your corporation.
Mm. No, let's say I'm the judge.
Yeah.
Right. They're gonna ask you a question. What was the weather like outside when you came here? So you got two different colors here. What color is this right here? As soon as you answer, you're in the jurisdiction.
You're in the
Well,
jurisdiction.
Well, and hold on, just to add to another one, even stepping in the building has given them jurisdiction.
Yeah.
That's a part of the problem that we discussed. This goes going back like 8 or 9 years, and I'm going through some stuff in the courts, in the so-called tribunals right now. Just the fact that you stepped into the building, already jurisdiction has been assumed from the
It
perspective.
might not be established,
But it's
but it's
assumed.
at least assumed.
And then from the perspective that really what should have happened is some documents should have come in there before you that would have put them on a kind of a place. On top of that, really what should be happening is there should be a consular. There should be your nation's representatives there.
Yeah.
Telling them to go, where to go.
Yeah.
Right? Then also, let me see your judge license. But remember this, once you start challenging them, and this is just to give you certain things, because don't go off half thing. Once you start saying, who are you? All of a sudden what you're doing is showing contempt to them. So what will happen is you'll say, who are you? And they'll say, you're showing contempt. Bailiff, come and get them. So those are certain things that just to give you certain things as you're moving in this and thinking about these things, those are things that you can discuss these things later. But you just want to be very careful how you go ahead.
So if it's a situation of let's say they're trying to put you on the guillotine next week Friday because you spit out here, and then they're telling you spitting is not allowed or whatever like that. You're getting the guillotine. Then you apply this information, whether you know it or not. You better say something to these people because they're taking the guillotine, right? If it's $20 or something like that, yeah, you might fight it because it's not really gonna. You're not losing too much. But if you get $500 a day to feed your family, and then they're saying $20, pay $20, and they're I want more. I don't want to fight. I gotta fight this and all that stuff like that. But you losing $500 for $20?
Yeah.
You might as well just pay $20
Yeah.
and not make that mistake again. Save yourself the hassle, right? Because they're not gonna. As soon as you make the argument, Judge, who are you and all that stuff. Now you're talking about this thing's going for the next 6 months, 8 months, 5 years. They'll take you back and forth to court because they know every time you go in there, they're getting paid, and you're losing every time you go in there. So to beat your case, they'll just bring you back 5 times. They'll ride you right until the end of the day. 3:59. All right, call up Mr. Oh, sorry. We'll see you next week. Next week comes, ride you right up to 4:59. Oh, sorry. We can't see you today. Now you just lost $1,000. Nothing happened yet. Then you could have just gave these people their $20, or you could have did like the guy in whatever the hell it was, came with his wheelbarrow of pennies. Here is you guys' money. You can't say they're not gonna take it or whatever. Like there's different angles that you're gonna deal with them. So if it's something crazy, then yeah, you probably wanna talk with some of the Moorish here, get some insight on what you could do. Like we're saying, if you're seeing those people and there's a date and all that stuff, before you even go in there, there should be some type of paper sent to them, and that's going to be your talking point before you get in there to talk.
There's an incident that they remand you into custody, and then they take you from straight to the court.
Right.
You didn't have the time to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
To really sell them some papers or something like that.
Yeah.
Straight to the court.
Right.
So
In the situation of a de jure or a proper system, when you go there, your phone call is going to be to the guy who has an office there that's your representative. not duty counsel or some lawyer or whatever, somebody who's part of your nation, that they're gonna call, hey, we have Mr. Bay here. He was doing some madness over there. We picked him up. You guys gonna come pick him up, or what you want us to do with him? All right, hold on. We're gonna send the muftis to come pick him up. We'll get him in a second. Okay, fine, no problem. We'll be waiting. And then we take you, and then we deal with you.
Right.
Right. That's how it would. That's how it should run. But remember, we're dealing with occupiers. So if we're from the perspective of, if they reprimand you in custody for something, without you being able to send your papers or whatever, they just take you off the street because whatever, you're probably doing something crazy you shouldn't have been doing. Or you probably were somewhere you shouldn't have been, or whatever, It's like you tell more, it's like, if they had a situation, let's say they had a situation, they got pulled over or whatever, right? Think back to what were you doing before you got pulled over? Right? And why were you at that point, at that time, in this vast universe, for these people to engage you? What didn't you do for 2 minutes that would have made you miss that individual? What did you rush from not doing that made you get caught up in that energy transfer? Because there has to be something that led you to be at that place in that time for this thing to be happening. And then majority of the time, that's happening so that the individual could learn their lesson, whatever lesson it is that they're supposed to learn. Right? And again, too, with this whole thing about colonizer, that the rules are not going to be right and exact with them. Right? They're going to break rules crazy, just because they understand that once we have a certain level of knowledge, that they're defeated. Forget us say something. Like these Moors know, they put on their fez, go to the courtroom. The whole place is in panic. Just because of fez, that's it. That we even talk anything yet? We haven't been to the courtroom yet, and we're trying to get into the building, and stuff's going on. People coming in from all these doors, walls opening up, people coming out, and all that stuff. Just because we're here, there has to be something going on. There has to be something about this that has these people sort of, treading lightly, when it comes to us, And every single situation that we have, there's remedy with this, right? But the remedy is not some paper or we sent something or whatever. The remedy is your mindset. The remedy is, are you in the right frame of mind relative to this information? And then that's the only way that this is really going to work. If you're really dedicated to this, if you're really in tune with, this is really where we're supposed to be. Regardless of what religion, sexual orientation, whatever, nationality is the order of the day. What's your nationality? If you have one, you better talk up that you have one, especially when these colonizers come around. Because if you don't have one, you're in their jurisdiction. It's no different than there was an article about some Indians or some Indians trying to claim some property or something like that, right? They're brothers and sisters, but they're claiming that they're some Indian or whatever. They went to some some housing complex or something like that, handcuff people and all this stuff, holding people up because they have the right, because they're indigenous and all this stuff. Those people's minds are right. Because that's not what this is about. This is not about go claim some properties. This is not about just go out here and do something because you know. Far from it. The people's mind has to be right first. Again, which is why, we tell people, make sure you put this information in you. Don't just go by you heard something or something sounded good on the internet or whatever like that. So you're gonna go with this. Everything you hear, fact check everything. You're gonna fact check it, and then you're gonna realize that, oh yeah, this is a reality. This is actually something real. And that there is remedy. There is remedy in this. All right, please one. That's it. Everything good. I was waiting for you downstairs. Any more questions or comments? I don't know if you had any pertinent questions with regard to stuff that you might have got from them, or stuff they might have taught that you're not clear about.
Okay, so the people, I would not say get it. It's so, like, it's supposed to like set it out this corporation.
Right.
It's supposed to do that.
Right. And then that's for notice purposes. So they have us, regardless of what jurisdiction it is, whether it's provincial, city, federal, whatever, right? They have a certain way that the system runs. Like we're saying, they make everybody all capital letters, make them property, and then that's how they do things, right? The notice part is to let them know that you're not in that jurisdiction, right? In writing. So we look at the 7 most prominent positions in the quote-unquote government to send to. There are the federal ones that you send to, there's going to be provincial people that you send to, and there's going to be municipal people that you send to. The protocol is that whoever gets it is supposed to send it up and down the chain. That's how it's supposed to run. It's probably not going to run like that, because as soon as they read it, they're going to realize that they're in trouble, and we're not going to let anybody know. So we say, you let anybody know who needs to know. Right? Like, it's not a thing of, well, yeah, the system's running, so, Justin Trudeau says he's the prime minister, so that means if we tell him something, he's going to tell everybody under him what's good. It ain't going on like that. So you might want to just let everybody under him know what your position is, right? And then that's from the perspective of putting them on notice. Now,
And just one other thing too, just remember this. The basis of everything here is to understand that they're criminals. So if you're expecting them to just roll over, because remember, they're making profit off of you guys, whatever profit, energies.
Because we're ignorant, they'll be making profit.
So don't think and remember this, they're going to also have a timeline if you've been acting this certain way up until now. So not to say that what you're saying isn't right, but understand that you're going to get a lot of resistance from them. So your duty is to keep that up, but also keep in your mind what you're about. And everything should be, because then you're attaching to the spiritual side, which is then going to help you. That's the stuff where you go and all of a sudden stuff goes away. We have another boy here who's supposed to get deported already.
Yeah.
And basically battled it down. They had an order for him, and then he went and stood on his ground, and that's it. But part of it is that you can't be out there then, doing all kinds of nonsense. Because ultimately what will happen is then it will be from the spiritual side. The argument can be that, look, you're still, even though they don't have anything to do with this, spiritually they can argue the fact that you're up to no good.
Yeah.
And so that they can sleep well at night, right? But if you're going to work and coming back and not causing any problems, then really they have no position. They have no position to begin with. But ultimately they're going on the fact that you're exhibiting things not being of an outstanding character. Right? Don't worry, you ain't going anywhere. So go on. What were you saying?
And again, that's part of it too,
Yeah.
right? That this is supposed to get us in a place of upstanding character, like we're talking about. That where your energy is, you will see those people or have issues with them. Because one, they know they're dealing with somebody who's outstanding or whatever, and two, from the spiritual side, because you're dealing with it like that, ancestors are going to protect you. You're really not going to have to worry about these people in that sense of the word. You know, like I say with Brother Rennie, he had his situation. He appealed it. He appealed their decision. Went to the appeal, and then the appeal basically told him that it's on him. If you want to give us the instrument that we need so we can deport you, then you could do that. And they left it at that. Right? Told him that he didn't have to come sign in anymore and all that. You know, whatever. If you want to do whatever, then you do that.
So part of that though is to let you understand that they're never going to give him a proper thing. They're just going to walk away. They're just going to see what I'm saying. You're never going to get something that's going to say, okay, everything's good. What they're going to say is, oh, if you want to deport yourself, come and give this stuff, right? So that's when you have to be on that level. But then the problem is if they catch you a year down the line, you know, involved in a shootout at a bank, you sort of put yourself in what it is. This is what we talk about. It's about being at a vibratory level. Once you get to that vibratory level, if you lower yourself again, then again, you know, it's like a fish with a hook. You now got you again, right?
Yeah. You know, and then putting, you know, with the analogy of the hook, it's just, okay, how deep's the hook in this time? Because you got it removed. So to be in the position of having to deal with that again, it's going to be double trying to get out next time. You know, right? Any other questions, comments? Mothers, any questions?
My question.
About getting Moorish,
Yeah.
How can I like get a new one or I get a
So with what we've had in the past is that, and not even in the past, still going on right now, that people get to this stage, they receive the benefits of being a Moor, and then they jump ship.
I don't understand.
Like with your nationality, if you have a situation that you're dealing with, right? Opposed to you get a lawyer, you could come talk to any of these brothers and sisters here who's been through the situation already.
Yeah.
They already got all the paperwork, they already got all the stuff. All you gotta do is just set the paperwork to your situation. Now you got everybody here that you can use as a witness. You got a seal because you're part of this. So, you know, that's a benefit. Opposed to you go pay $5,000 for a retainer, get a lawyer to do it. You know what I mean? You can get all that stuff done here just because you're showing allegiance to this, right? Benefit, you know, you being able to want to make a big purchase, right?
Yeah.
And you being able to save on the taxes because your nationality is what's giving you the power to not get taxed. 200, 300 or whatever it is they charge on big stuff. We're not talking little stuff you get out here. You know what I mean? We're talking you're gonna go make a real purchase. And you can tell them, well, you know what, I'm indigenous, so no tax obligation. And they'll accept it as that. Because, you know, that's just what it is. But that's that. So when I say benefits, things like that. Right? Yeah, so they would not be here anymore. They would not show allegiance
So
to
we
this.
just use it, serve the purpose.
And then that's it. Once they get what they want,
Stay around, yeah.
they got what they want. You know what I mean? Which on a level of it, we get it because they really have no obligations to us like that, really. You know what I mean? But we look at it from the perspective of us, the work that we're doing is what should be acknowledged.
And the word that the prophet said to add to that, be serious, take it, save yourself.
Right.
Don't be passive, take it and go up. You fall in humanity, so that means you gotta go help your brothers.
Right. So it's not like
You don't have to, but it's good if you go help.
Yeah. So
But it's not
if
saving you, it's to save you, your personal self. You
Right.
gotta save yourself.
so if those individuals who came into this, got whatever, and then left and never showed their face again, if they even sent 5 people after they left,
Would have been good.
you know what I mean? At least we could say, oh well, we know they're still out there. They didn't really jump ship like that. They might just be busy. They can't. Okay, fine, cool. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. But the allegiance to this is part why, you know, for example, you know, we can print the card and have the card next week because we can do that, right? But we're looking at it like helping these people that are coming into this save themselves, right? We always use the example of this brother Tallahassee, who even up to still right now, he doesn't have a nationality card. He's been in this 5-6 years. He's out there exercising as a Moor, working and all that, and he doesn't even have a nationality card. Because he's coming from the perspective of I'm the nationality card.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Like you don't need something from me to say I am whatever. When I'm here, I can tell you I'm whatever. You want a name? This is the name. Put it on the thing. Like what you want? I'm right here in front of you. You know what I mean?
The job that I do, that somebody cases I go in, but also any ID card or any form.
Right. We get that. But then again, this is where it comes in again to.
Because I've been in a position where I actually, because I have a document,
Right.
I pull it on the shoulder and I explain, and it was like, you need a picture.
Right.
That's all the people who need a picture.
Yeah. Right. So, you know, again, it comes into the look at it from the spiritual side of it. Are they saying, are they the ones saying don't, or you can't use this or whatever? Or is it behind the veil? Is it the ancestors knowing that the guy who you got your stuff from, he's not in good with us? If you're saying that you're more and all that stuff, you need to be with the proper people that are, if you're talking about give documents and all that stuff. Because we just, one of these so-called Moorish groups or whatever that are out here, right? We're still waiting for verification. So, but we heard that there was a conference call where just somebody just told me this yesterday. We heard that there was a conference call on one of these Moorish group, whatever, where one of the heads of the thing told everybody that he just turned in all the stuff to the FBI from their Moorish group, whatever. Right now, what do you mean you turned in the stuff to the FBI? Like, what do you mean by that? Right? But everybody who's tied to that, if that's the case, now all their stuff is now with the FBI, right? When that's supposed to be in-house stuff. That's not. You know what I mean? Only if you're an agent collecting information would you do that, which would mean that this individual would have had to been agent from the jump in order for it to go that deep. Right? And it's the same thing. People sending in papers, people get the papers sealed, they think that they're with a Moorish body of Moors because, you know, they say they're Moors and, you know, they got feathers on and they got a Moroccan flag, so I guess they're Moors. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go do my paperwork with them. Now all these people's stuff might be sure. Right? Now, does that mean they don't have a nationality anymore? No. Doesn't mean that. But it means that their allegiance is now compromised. Because the activity that one individual did reflects on everybody who was part of that. Right? So with regard to paperwork and stuff like that, you know, we go from the perspective of get the individual's mindset correct before they even do some papers and cards and whatever.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be doing it with a weak mind, right? Because that's the minds that are going to be challenged first. The ones who just said, "Oh yeah, $3,000. Okay, now I got the paper. All right, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to be a moron because I got this paper that I just bought from somebody." Well, it's probably not going to work because you bought it, right? So that already cancels it out, because if it's nationality, it's not something you can pay for. So that already canceled it out. The fact that you paid and then whatever it was that they gave you, that thing is void because you paid. Even if you give it around and it works, it's still void. Even if you show the card and they say, "Oh yeah, tax is off. We want to buy something, $5 million. So we'll take $2 million off that because you gave us this nationality card that came from those dirty Moors over there." It's still a compromise.
Actually,
That you paid for it
because that is free.
because it's supposed to be free. It's a nationality. You have a right to that according to the UN.
But then it becomes spiritual empowerment, right?
You missed.
So the idea is that when you see the paperwork, you think you need the paperwork. It suggests that the paperwork stands before you. But you, without the paperwork, without you, the paperwork means nothing. So it's you, the national, who stands before the paperwork. So if you can't stand before your paperwork, then you shouldn't really be having the paperwork or those type of identifications. Because really, truly, you shouldn't need those to navigate more. That's just like certain other people know. But if you, like you was talking about earlier, Tallahassee, that more, you stand firm in who you are, then the paperwork is like a secondary. If you don't know how to defend that or speak for it, then it doesn't. It's null and void.
And so for example, because the Elder Winston, he was the one who put me on to camera with all the documents and whatever like that. So he showed me the cards. So one of the issues, for example, with the cards is when if the colonists, let's say you put that down, right? And they make a photocopy of it, right? They're going to make a photocopy of it, and there's going to be nothing that comes out because the card itself is dark.
Yes.
So when you photocopy it, there's nothing there.
Yes.
So that sort of, raises red flags, right? The fact that we're claiming that on this card, we're a Moor and we're a national and we're a we're all this stuff, but then everybody who showed me one of those cards from him, they never had on a national headdress, not even a turban. Which turban, you could go in the closet, get a towel, put down on your head and take a picture.
Just to be clear, I mean, they never had one in the photo.
Yeah, in the photo. Yeah, the photo on the card doesn't reflect somebody who is of a national mindset. Because if you're a national, you wouldn't have ID without. You won't. It's just not something that. So either the individual wasn't told by who said, "Come get the card," right? They didn't tell them, which is of vital importance that the people know that they have a culture when they say that they're Moors and claim their nationality and have a nationality card and all that stuff, that there's actually a heritage that comes with this. There's certain things that it's not going to be verbal. Now, there's certain things that you're just going to have to get with. You know what I mean? One of the things is you don't be seen in the position of somebody being able to say, hey, that guy or whatever, that you always look like a Moor from your physical appearance, but even how you dress, you know, Moorish is even in that, how you dress. So if you have an ID, which is supposed to identify you, and then you're putting that down and you're not dressed Moorish, but you're claiming that you're Moorish, there's an issue there. That you know, whoever's receiving it, they're not gonna say anything about it. It'll just be accepted that, oh, well, yeah, the other 4 guys that came in here, theirs had a fez on it. Who are these ones that don't have it? You know what I mean? Things come into question. The whole thing of the what else was there? Oh yeah, the name being all lowercase. Like that's not how proper nouns are written, right? If they have it in all lowercase, then you're not dealing with a natural person. Not dealing with a natural person. You're dealing with a corporate person, right? The individual who is the head of whatever, and then everybody who's becoming a member is signing a power of attorney so that that person can handle their affairs. That's not what power of attorney is. Like if I say, make me your power of attorney, sign this paper, and then you think that you signing me to be your power of attorney is only for our Moorish matters only? These people just have jurisdiction over all your stuff now. Because again, they're playing their lawyers. They say they're a Moorish law firm, don't they? Yeah. That's why they tell people $5 grand. Because they're playing a lawyer. Which the $5 grand is not for the papers and the whatever. That's the retainer fee. Bless them. But they're not gonna say it like that. So if they say it like that, then the next thing you're gonna ask them, where's your bar card? If you say a lawyer. You say a lawyer, you're gonna have a bar card. Where's your bar card at? Oh, well, we're Moors, we don't need that. Oh yeah, true, okay, whatever, and then people fall for that. Once you say those names, lawyer, attorney, something comes with it. Just like when we say more, something comes with this. When you say more to somebody, there are certain expectations, right? You say attorney, lawyer, duty counsel, there's already expectations there, right? They're not giving up that there's no real expectation from them because they took the position of seeing a window in order to fleece their people, right? So yeah, cards ain't nothing, but we look at it like this is about your salvation spiritually before some card. You know what I mean? Like you said, brothers are here to tell you. He's somebody that, you know, had their card. And the transition of card is not no big deal. Right? Our thing is that there has to be some allegiance to what it is that's going on. Right? And it's good.
And also a level of competency for you. Because ultimately, as let's say administrators or people that are looking to make sure that you are going to do well, we want to make sure that you are at a proper level. You see what I'm saying, right? So you are a Moor, but if you don't know how to defend yourself, and then it's almost like giving you a gun or a knife, and then sending you into a fight, then not telling you how to load the gun, or how to aim, or all these things. There's a certain level of responsibility that we as administrators should have to you to not let you get yourself injured. And that's why there's what we consider to be a level. It's the same way if you were coming to get Canadian citizenship, courses and all this indoctrination to have you at a certain level so that you can defend yourself. So that's where that is. So that's part of why it's not just given off like that, because certain individuals have taken the knowledge and then gone out to do stuff and gotten themselves injured. Worse than they would have gotten injured. Worse than they would have gotten themselves injured if they had just stuck with being like the corporate person. Right?
Right, because people have this attitude as if we're holding them back from their nationality because, you know, we're saying, well, you know, a year is what's feasible to us to show that you're really on this. You know what I mean? You be at your classes for a year. You come to your meetings for a year. We got little events that we're doing, we see you at those. You know, you're paying some dues. You're not paying dues, you're in here sweeping the floor, washing the windows, you know what I mean? Doing something to show that you're part of this. It's not just to get your stuff and then be out of here. Because we know that's where some people have taken this.
And that's where you know certain people have taken that and then gone out and injured other people. Which is what some of us are going through. Which is where we look at our stuff now saying, okay, we're not going to put people in positions where they're going to be, we're going to say that they're affiliated with us. You can do that. But remember, the energy is we're saying that you have nothing to do with that. So at this point, it would be like you walking down the street and me saying, hey, give me some money because I'm going to give you $1 million. If you give me that money, that's on you. See what I'm saying? But once I say I'm a Moor and I belong to this, and then I'm giving you something, and then I stand for you, trust me, you know, certain people, karma, remember, karma will come back. It may not happen now, and remember, the provider, it will come back. It may not come back in the place and the time that you think it will, but it will come back on it.
So, go ahead, Mark.
Just a small point, navigating yourself to stuff. I ask you know, really, like what would you say? To heal Scarborough, Toronto, Mountain. Mountain. We're in Toronto. You're talking to me, boy. Don't live until you go back to Canada. It's just where you live. Yeah. So right now you're not living talking to me, as far as I see. You just said it. You just said you live in Brampton. You didn't want to have what normal street, but it's in Brampton. So now you're in Toronto, you're not living. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Well, you're living. Okay. So you're not supposed to, if even the highwayman comes to you, so where do you live, sir? What do you mean? I'm living talking to you. What do you want? I'm talking to you. Well, first thing, you're going to say, oh, 35 Eglinton Avenue, that's where I live. Apartment 22. That's what you're going to say. So that's the part of knowing what the card means, knowing what your nationality is, knowing what a Moor is. So this is just one simple little one you could just use and you say, oh, you don't. Your system. If you know what I mean.
Going back to the same thing that you're talking about with, you know, when you go in there and you're challenging the jurisdiction, you know, throw something like that, oh, where do you live? Well, I live over there. As soon as you go there, you just put yourself. You put yourself in there. Not they did it. You put yourself in there.
It's a building not like this. The building doesn't move. The number's still there.
Right.
Yeah. Not mine. I don't have a rent. Yeah. I don't have a rent. Building not that. Not me. And I live everywhere. I don't just live there.
Right. Because really and truly, you live in your body.
Yeah. I went to.
You don't live in the building.
I assist one guy with some. He's sick in the hospital, and I went there. So I'm the one that know him because his brain, dementia, whatever Alzheimer's. So when I went there, the detective come to speak to me to make sure he's the person. And when this is how he see me, and no, this is not an ordinary regular guy. And then when he starts for information and name and whatever, and then he asked me some things, and I said to him, most important thing right now, this is the man. And I'm telling you that's him, and whatever you want to do to prove that's the same, except me telling you that's the man we need, whatever it is. Then he goes to me, okay, sir, for information, where do you live? You gotta get there. Where do you live? Well, when he asked me that now, I said, what am I talking to you? Are you looking for an address to whatever, say I live and I'm talking to you alive now?
Yeah,
Easy?
downstairs.
Come on, don't.
Because you gotta put me in the box.
Yeah, so then now we don't even bother asking for that. You just see what I tell him and he's smart. Because even himself realized, holy smoke, he's right. He's living talking to me. But I'm asking him for an address where he lives. So he himself catch on to himself and realize when I'm telling him, I'm really talking to you.
You don't get there.
This is the man.
Yes.
No,
That's
no, I
If you live over there and you're not there,
If you're not living there, yeah, live right where anybody is.
yeah.
so you are the me.
Yeah.
You're the carrier. Yeah. So it's kind of like a trick, play on words, kind of, but that's part of what they do.
Yeah.
That's where you live.
That's why
You say.
that's why it said language have a lot to do with dealing with these people. The kind of language that they use with them, it have a lot to do with how you interact with them.
Right.
Not a lot, it has absolutely everything.
Yeah, everything.
Not a lot,
Everything.
Because that's where they're gonna know where you stand and where your position is.
Yeah, where your position is. Yeah.
Well, but understand this, the so-called address that they're looking for, more than likely there'll be a history to that to you, than say, if you can carry on. So they're looking to tie you to something that they can then, looking at, maybe you got something that happened at that address, the so-called address before, right? So then they can tie you to the straw, right? That's a lot of the times why they look for that so-called address.
Yeah, because that is what they use in history over the time. Like they say, oh, we get this fossil from over here, and because of that, we're associating that with that, like our nation, and it goes on and on. They keep on playing on this stuff like that. But
And then also part of that too is with the language. If we're talking about the territorial jurisdiction, that once they say, once they start doing that and saying that those are provinces, they're actually talking about
Corporate jurisdiction.
corporations. So you would never see them write out Ontario.
oh, yeah.
They're gonna say ON. They're gonna say AB,
Abbreviations.
right? Always. Because they have jurisdiction over what they create. So when they say, when they put it in all caps, they created that.
Yeah.
So they can have jurisdiction over it. And then they take that and put it on the instrument called ID. Now you're agreeing that you're that. And then now once they agree that you're that, now they got jurisdiction again. Right? And then the ID on this is going to say ON, gives them jurisdiction again. And then the ID is going to say, DOB, and then they got jurisdiction again. And then there's going to be a little, whatever on the top of it, and then that's letting you know that it's something they created, and then it's jurisdiction again. Then the back's going to say, this is the property of whatever, that's not you, it's jurisdiction again.
Yeah, that's that little flower that they use.
And they keep,
Because of the church.
Right.
But do they have jurisdiction over the land? So the land already belongs to them.
No. But remember, that's not land.
No.
That's paper only.
But we as Africans are perceiving it as a land. That's why we're in this kind of predicament. We have to comprehend that this is not what it really is. We are still on the land. This is why we're still here. And it's so hard to get it. We have to come to a full consciousness, I think.
Right. Just like the brother was saying that everything that matters deals with the language. And it's not a thing of, oh, well, it's because it's a European language, and every language has an origin. Let's go back to its origin so you can know what it is being said when it's said. And once, just on that alone, we'll be able to get through a lot of the stuff that we're doing with them. But not having that information, not being in that place of knowing, like that, not that, hold on a second, let me go check, and then we gotta go do 5 hours of studying to figure out what it is they just said to us. When it should be automatic that we get it. You know what I mean? And then again, that's the whole point of what having this institution is. For us to get ourselves in the right mind so that when we go out in the world, we're not gonna be, played based on the fictitious language or the unabridged language. Omar.
I'm just going to say, when we get again, well, that's still just
the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, the tip of the iceberg.
To the rest of it, which is really us reclaiming our nationality, our heritage, and the rest of that, which comes from the perspective that it's not just about getting out of whatever issue you're in. You want to turn it on? It's about really coming back together, coming back into your community. That's really what this is at the end.
No, I don't think it's done. It's not the wall.
So we're looking to turn it down?
Yeah, that's burn it down also. I'm sorry. So even part of with Noble Joe Ali saying that we're not Negro, black, colored, and all that. That's what he's saying. He's saying that we're not strawmen. He's saying that we're not fiction. He's saying that we're not corporations. So as we stop being corporations, then life can happen. Until we stop being corporations, it's always going to be about business when we're dealing with that on a repetitive basis.
Yeah, human race. Huh?
There's only one.
It's actual race.
Yep.
It's competitiveness,
I know she's got another.
No,
Which one? Which one of that?
No, number one.
Which one is it?
I don't think there's anything in there.
Oh.
I don't get it. How much is more for just on brief for the IV and
So what we're saying just is that once they put you in all capital letters on the identification, once you're in all capital letters, then you're their property. You're a corporation to them, right? And because they created this can't be you because they created it. They're God of this. So then they're going to take this name that they got off the birth certificate, and then they're going to put it on everything called ID, written just like this. So that no matter which one of these that you show, you're owned by them. You show passport, you're owned by them. You show visa, you're owned by them. You show bank card, you're owned by them. You show health card, you're owned by them. License, owned by them. Gun license, owned by them. Whatever. Taxes form for whatever. You gotta go to court. Whatever it is that they do, they're gonna have to write it like this at all times. Or they would say, J. Smith. But that's not you. Like, why am I agreeing to this? Why am I going with They sent me something in the mail that said, oh yeah, this is J. Smith's mail, and I opened it. But I know that that's not my name. That's just an abbreviation. That J could mean anything. Right? And then the ONAB, that's how they would write the province. Right? And then they do the same thing with the states. NY, NJ, OK, whatever state it is. Right? Don't spell it out. Once you spell it out, then they can't assume jurisdiction anymore. But if they abbreviate it, now they could assume that jurisdiction. Right? And again, that all these are corporations. And corporations in law are called persons. So in law, when you get some type of form or some type of constitution or some type of whatever, when they say persons and you think they're talking about living people, you're wrong. They're talking about corporations. Anytime you see persons, because there's also natural persons. So they want you to be this person. We're saying, don't be this person, be natural person by having a nationality, right? NATO, nation, right? NAT, national, right? Because there's a life energy in that. There's dead energy in this. So we want to be connected to life as much as we can, even though we're dealing with people who are playing the corporate thing, because they're only going to play this as long as you let them. Right? They're only going to say the corporate names and the corporate places and the corporate processes and whatever, once you're claiming that that's what you are. Because they can't do that just on themselves. Like they need our cooperation in order for them to commit the fraud that they commit. They can't just do it without ignorant people, right? Some people have to be ignorant in order for it to work, right? And we're going to the stage of we're not ignorant anymore. You know, we are now of sound mind. We're not just going to say we're anything, you know, or because somebody said something, we're going to go with that. You know, somebody said we're African American, so we're going to go with that. Not really, right? Because nobody else says that there are two continents. Only we do that. Everybody else is a national from a country. And as soon as we start, you know, having these leaders that make up stuff for us, then we fall into a whole different jurisdiction now. Forget all this. That's one jurisdiction. Now there's another jurisdiction that our people, our leaders now threw us in. Right? You had something, Kiva?
Word. How are they allowed, like not how are they allowed? How do you get allowed? So say if you don't show up or appear in their building that they're gonna send the bounty hunters for you. So how are they allowed to do that? Because as we said earlier, and I've experienced this through one of my family members, is that the guy before me, he came up on some stuff, and then my nephew went up, the judge asked the crown guy something, and he's like, nah, jurisdiction is not even a matter, he's here. Going back to once you walk into the building, they assume jurisdiction. Right. If you had a problem with it, you could let it know.
Yeah.
So once you go in, you get that first notice or promise to appear, or whatever, it says, we want you to come here to talk about this, to deal with it. So you go in, and that's like you're one of the first 10 times you're there before you even get a trial. Right. But they say if you miss any of those 8, 10 times, we're gonna there's gonna be a warrant issued and blah, blah, blah. Right. Then you're like, you know, getting pulled out of school or, so how do you navigate around that?
Well, knowing that they're gonna probably issue the warrant and come get you, and then you're gonna get a charge for that now.
Yeah, that's
You
what I'm.
might as well just go to the thing.
Right.
If it's already at that stage,
Yeah.
where if you don't come here, we're gonna. Well then, you know, if their we're gonna is detrimental to you being out here or living or whatever, you probably wanna just go to the thing, right? But again, you know, it's not like, it's just like with Rennie's situation, that they're not gonna tell you, you don't have to come here. You might send a writ to them, letting them know what the position is and why you're not gonna be there. And that might work, but you really don't know, because there's no template as to, okay, well, you know, do this and then this is gonna be the outcome. No, they're colored. Their outcome is like, and nowhere at the same time.
So you see how the attorney guys, they can have a something adjourned, right? So long story short, my family, and there's two co-accused with him. And from the get-go, I was trying to help them out. I'm like, no, you need to like deal with this by yourself. They're gonna go hire lawyers and stuff, and you need to understand what's going on. So later on in life,
Yeah.
So later on in life, we know it's good. So the first judge is like, nah, I don't want to unmarry this because the three guys have to go through this together. And I'm like, nah, well, the three guys are different. So, you know, didn't want to make it happen. So eventually the other two guys, the one guy took the peace bond thing and the other guy pled guilty.
Yeah.
So now it's my family's one having to come back and keep coming back.
Yeah.
And the trial's like set for next summertime.
Yeah.
So
Now the other issue is what's the purpose of him going for it? Like, what is he innocent? Is he guilty? Is he going because he didn't plead?
no, he said he was innocent. Like there was supposed to be like 10 people there.
Yeah.
It's like a wild accusation, but it went off. It's just, you know, shotgun approach.
Yeah.
Gather up his money, charge everybody with the same thing.
Right.
See what falls. So
Yeah.
let's say the two people that probably did something, they're already like done.
Yeah.
One guy took his speech, one
Right.
guy pled guilty.
Okay.
So I'm like, so why do you
Why
still
didn't
want
you do
my-
that? Why
and
didn't you
he
do
said
that?
something like, oh, I don't know the word he used, it sounded like inconsistency or in being inconsistency with what just happened. We need to get something we need to extract something out of you. And in my head, I'm like, so what about the other 7 guys that we questioned that? They didn't even come here 8 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. If it once they're talking about if you don't show up, we're gonna whatever.
Issue a bench warrant.
Issue a bench warrant and all that stuff.
That's just more about it.
That's just more stuff. And on top of that, he's not of our mindset or whatever to deal with it.
That's
Then
a big problem.
just do the
So I should respond to
thing.
get a lawyer then?
I mean, if
If it's
what
criminal,
yeah, like what is really causing him to
Sorry.
what is really causing him to have to be there? You know what I mean? Like if he can't talk for himself, then you need somebody to talk for him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, okay, so I was there and I was talking, he said, he's not saying nothing. That's his right to remain silent.
Yeah.
And he can do that until you guys say something and we can go appeal. Right, but then the last time, so we're setting a date and then the crowd was down there in the clerk's office trying to set a date. And I backed something on my phone quick and I said, so what about a crown stay? That's like if you think by proceeding to trial, someone's rights are going to be violated, you can get a crown stay. And he's like, so then when we go back upstairs, he brings it up. He goes, excuse me, to hear him now. First, I was a piece of reading to him 8 times. Didn't want to hear no Aboriginal diversion, nothing. Hear him now. My friend here, he brought up about crown stay, and I just want to know, and you know, if we can get him to bring in the stuff before. So they put at least 2 days on top of the trial for me to bring in what I'm gonna like hit him with.
Right.
But he called me my friend. That's where I was like, I had a problem with that. Now you're trying to like on the record through the voices say like I'm a paralegal or something like that. So I'm like, nah, man. So I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Which again is, part of their little game.
right,
You know, put you in that jurisdiction. Well, he never objected to being my friend, so he must be a lawyer. And then they go check, and then now they want to press charges on you because you practice in law and you're not. Brother Omar. Yeah,
I was just going to say this is about a transition. You understand it? From a transition from a state of, let's say, of a lower state to a higher state, and one of the statements or one of the adages that we have is that you all hold business in your own name. So this is about understanding that you're a Moor. You may have been a black guy before this doing some black shit. So at this point, black shit sort of, you have to deal with the black shit in the black area.
Yeah.
You know what you're at. So it's like what they say in the Bible, it's like attaching old fabric to new fabric. It's not going to stick. So ultimately what has to happen is you have to look at what you've done, exactly what Kujo was saying. What did I do to get into this stuff? It's like whiling around with my gang members. Well, hopefully it didn't end up with someone being dead or you being involved in anything like that. You may have to take a couple of slaps on the wrist and then understand I'm not hanging out with those guys anymore. So it's really something about that transition. You're going to have to, in some way, because you've been operating like that, it's like what you want to do now is you want to go back and change everything. That's not going to be able to happen, and they're not going to allow that because you've been operating like that up until that point. And one of the things we told you is you cannot use this to get out of stuff. You cannot use this to get a benefit from this. That's what they say as well. So ultimately, if you're hanging out with some guys and they went and robbed some stuff, if you weren't involved in that, then you can fight it on that. But ultimately, you are going to be responsible, or they're going to hold you to the state of mind that you were at that point.
right.
So that's where you may have to let them know, hey,
Still in that state of mind, right?
well, and that's the issue. So you see what happens now. People then want to take the new state of mind to get out of stuff, and that's where we have an issue with them sort of condoning that. Because then what, you're going to be a Moor robbing people and doing all kinds of stuff, and then wanting to come and say you can't hold me responsible because I'm a Moor.
Right,
That's not what people know it is. No, I'm just saying that I'm letting you know that that's where it is right now. If it's still in that junior state,
Right.
then
That's just let them.
well, use this as an opportunity. If you want to fight and he's really active about it, you can use this to do that. But you coming in,
less eager. Like I think they got to the 8th time, and then he sees the guys that did something, they're done. And then it's a UV record supposed to be sealed, all that. They're trying to say, yo, just take the deal, take the deal,
well,
take the
but
deal.
Yeah, but it depends on what the deal is. If the deal is, the deal is, lick the window and you don't get 20 years, you might want to just lick the window.
well, so here's an
Like,
example.
because
I just got a call yesterday from these guys because I've been trying to go over that so-called border, right? So I had some things on the straw that when we went down there to try to do some work, they attached me to the straw. And then they said, because you did this thing 30 years ago, we're not letting you on. Right? So now, 1991 or something like that, right? So now then what happened was, I got a call yesterday from the group that you go to get your pardon, to get all your stuff. And then they're talking about $1,600 to pay your $1,600, and then they're gonna go around and
try to get a partner.
well, there's a pardon and a waiver now. So what they're saying is that if you've gone to the border and they stop you at the border right now on something, then already you've been flagged. So you're never going to be able to go over there without that thing
Flag
attached.
going up there.
But what you can get is something called a waiver. Now that waiver is going to cost $1,000, and that's going to give you between a year to 5 years of back and forth, depending on what they want. But initially, when I talked to them, they were talking about $3,000 because they were trying to attach the pardon to it. Right? But now what I realized is they were fishing for money. So they're like, listen, you can pay payment plan, all this kind of stuff, right? But part of me thinks that this is where I'm at. I may actually find the fiat to do that, because if it's about the works that I need to do, and they still got some guys at the border with some guns, some of these highwaymen, then you have to sort of weigh your stuff.
Yeah.
So does that make you want, like, who are these guys that create a business that extracts fiat and all of a sudden, poof,
Right.
you're
Yeah,
already-
well, I'll tell you what it is. It's some guy with a gun at a border. That's what it is. That's the business that it is. We got some guys here that if you try and run right now, we're gonna shoot you down. Right? So yeah, it is absolutely crazy, but you do realize that every time that your mind is awakened, you start to see what is really
The
going
fraud,
on.
yeah.
This is all just
Fraud
a
opens up.
scam. This is all
Fraud opens
fraud.
up.
Layer upon fraud. Right, so, but yeah, what I would say was with that stuff with the sealed record and all that stuff, that's what I meant. He can get that done, and then he can go and get his stuff expunged, as an example. Right? That's another option where he gets his stuff sealed. If it's sealed as a juvie, then it'll be sealed forever unless there's some other issue.
So you would admit to something you didn't do just to get it over with.
Well, so you didn't do it.
It's not me.
No, I'm saying he didn't do it.
That's what he said. He said he didn't do it. And when he explained to me, it sounded like he didn't do it. Like I drilled him pretty in the sense.
So, well, how did his name then get?
Because he was with the people there.
Well, then there you go.
No, not at the time, like after.
Well, then you know what? Then I said, then guess what? He's fighting for the spirit because we had a Moor. Remember our Moor? What's the other one? Starts with a C. Was inside for like 5 months, 6 months. The one from Oshawa. Remember they were in the vehicle.
Oh yeah.
Canaan.
Yeah.
He was in a vehicle. The other vehicle had a gun in it, but he wasn't in the vehicle that had a gun in it.
But he was with him.
But he was in the different vehicle. They all went. But that's what I'm saying. Well, that's what we're telling you. This is what's going on. This is why we're trying to tell you how serious this stuff is.
They call it guilt by association.
Right. Exactly.
Vehicle.
Yeah. That's why.
That's like the fire gun in your house and come in your house and take, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying to you. This is what we're
It's
talking
knowledge.
You can, huh?
Sorry, it's knowledge too. If you have knowledge of if you're not in the vehicle, if you have knowledge of that, the factors of vehicle, it's called accessory after.
That could be your power behind you.
Yes.
That's your
So
security.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful how it's working, right?
And here's what I would say to you. This is what I would say. I would weigh the whole stuff. If this is going to be a 5-year battle for some nonsense, and you're really about standing on the principle, then do it. If it's really about maybe, learning your lesson that, this is one of those things, when mom used to tell you don't hang out with those guys, you can hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
This might be one of those, okay, now I'm listening to mom now, and I'm going to start with, church now, you know what I mean, rather than hanging out in the corner. You just have to weigh that stuff, right? You have to look at your particular situation and say, what's my cousin or nephew about? Look at him and say, is it right? And then you can always battle this stuff back too. Once it's done too, you can always come back, open it back up,
Appeal or whatever.
all that kind of stuff.
I don't know what time frame on Sunday. So we want to know
No, you guys need to come here for yourself, like,
Okay.
Give us a confirmation. We'll have how's this?
as you say, it's all here. How do you feel whenever we do it? Because it's sincere. Well, as we say, we abide in just back and forth. Stay out of place and we that's what happened on that dream course.
And at least,
We still selling it. Yeah, because the money to come down something we have to come down because And then shoot from here. You take something from here. Traveling is out of the question. And then maybe something we try to do that. But it's intrusive. It's nothing like you just come here to serve a purpose and that's it. It's something that needs to be shared from generation to generation. Let them know that food is free. It was nice meeting you, but it will be the last.
All right.
I'm trying to set up a venue in my mind already.
It's a lot. All right, thank you. That's what I was saying.
That's all we want to do.
We got lots of showers.
Right. First, it's like, where can I watch
No, I see already. I know. I think it was performance stage, stuff like that. Passion blocks and those guys.
We'll do that in the next couple weeks or whatever.
Yeah, Corona already. Yeah,
They got it on last week.
last week.
That's fine.
You know, the consciousness is real, you know.
Yeah.
So we are aware of it from time still. But it's good to see the gathering.
Yeah.
You know, and actually see a place where you can actually come, because years now I've been asking, so like, when are we gonna actually come to this fruition where we really realize ourselves and you know the best of what we have and try to build as a nation, because everybody else is doing it, right? And we need to function as a unit instead of being so much apart, because like the brother over there is crying out and saying that, you know, his brother is being suffered by these things that they inflicted from people on the outside. Things like this we should be able to help with as a unit.
Absolutely.
Right? But because we are so much apart,
We're fractured.
we are. So I'm hoping with things like this, you know, maybe in my lifetime or sometime that, you know, changes. You know? So I understand this. That's our chance to change, you know. So
Sometimes when you're in it, it's hard to see the change still. You know, but it's rapidly changing as we speak.
You see these ones right here? These boards here? So I belonged to a union. I work in film.
okay.
And so I decided to go up to Aboriginal workers and workers of color thing. So I said, let me go up there, buzzed up. Of course, that was crazy, first of all, right? So dealing with all these people, I started to argue with them that we're not colored. And they told me about how all these black guys got together for the last 2 years because they didn't want to be Aboriginal. That's why the color thing came in. And then his aunt was there. We did dialogue, we did whatever. I broke down the knowledge to her. And then 7 months ago, she called about how the guy, Aaron, had come up here on this program where there's bringing people up from the islands to work on the farms. So this was him. That was him. So he came.
And he's an original one.
Well, I guess whatever.
Yeah.
We're all original Moors, but you know. So anyways, he came up.
Like he's hold on,
This is why
more blood.
Okay, I'll see that soon. So anyway, so he's up here. She then calls me up, and I was telling her about the Moors. And she's like, calls me, she's like, do you know a guy named Cameron? And I said, oh no, please don't tell me, right? I don't know if you know Cameron, but anyways, a guy who was in this movement who starts to to start really setting things awry. And I ended up finding that he's given this guy $3,000 for his nationality, and because he wants to stay here, and they're looking to deport him. So obviously Canray is then going around to people who are in a susceptible position, looking to extract finance from them. So then I was saying to him, come on up, come on up. I said, but at that point we were getting a little frustrated because we were dealing with all of this stuff that he was creating, all of these people. I said, listen, all we're asking for is for you to put in a little $25 to keep the building open. I don't know whether that was what caused them not to come or whatever. I don't really think so, but maybe they were just, what do you call it, turned off by the whole thing. But anyways, the guy called me yesterday. I get this message. He's like, hi, it's Aaron. I knew I was supposed to talk to you. And I was mad at that point. I said, this is kudos. You gotta call him back. I said, no, let me give him some time. Let me give him some time. And then obviously, but you notice that not calling him back, then he brought 5 of his people probably because he wanted some backup. But you can see now that the energy, and he's not gonna go anywhere. If he's on point, right, there should be no business him going anywhere, right? But Canray has taken $3,000 from him. Crazy.
And this is the deception that we create amongst ourselves. That's right. You know, I'm not able to trust you. You're not able to trust me.
Yeah.
You know.
Though the Europeans have been ripping us off all through this, we keep contracting with them.
They trust them all day.
We're more close to sympathize with them or a different race or
Our own.
We're apt to trust them. Trust them. You know?
Yeah.
Mind you, I've been on both sides because I have children too. So, you know, so.
But you know what, 400 years of brainwashing already that easy, huh?
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying?
It's going in my
What I was saying about
If you dedicate it out, you know?
But the next thing I think is what I feel is not all of us is going to get there.
No,
This is what the problem is. We think all of us is going to get there.
Yeah.
But it's not all of us is going to get there. Some of us are going to have to stay back because we're just not getting it.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
But one of the things I think that one of the brainwashing things that I think we have to be careful of is the way that they make these statements about time, which we know is an illusion, as if somehow 400 years we've been here. Because what I said to Cujo was that I was
We were
working
just talking about that yesterday.
So that's how there was no separation from any of us, and that's what we realized, right? But I was on a film set one night, and I was listening to a couple of European ladies next to me, and she's like, "Well, I teach a course at Ryerson where I teach children to make my students to make eye contact because they've already in one generation lost the ability to be able to sit down in an interview and look someone in their eye." And I remember I was like, this was the food. And I remember turning and thinking to myself, wow, so things can turn around in one generation. Meanwhile, we're trying to talk about how there's been this 400 years of so-called tradition. The little children that we have downstairs, if we were to encapsulate them in a box, they would come out and they'd all be prophets.
Yes.
If we could keep them like that. It says we don't need no 400 years to turn that around. The problem is that they made you feel like this 400 years of foundation. What about the 50,000 years when we had them in slavery?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't talk about that. Yet somehow it's this 400 years of
And it's sad to see that when we talk, we seem to talk from a perspective of that is where our legacy begins from.
That's right.
It's not
That's right.
that, you know.
That's right. And that's all part of them controlling the information
The
stream.
narrative, yeah. It's crazy, man. I love you guys, man, you know?
Yeah. Was there any questions relative to anything you might have heard out there or been studying that you need clarity on or whatever?
I like to think I'm a deep thinker. I think deeper than anybody else, but I like to think that way.
Right.
Because you can only better yourself. You better yourself from the way it was before. And I like to think that way. I can't come out here and say, oh, I want to be better than you or I want to be better. You know what I mean? That's not a good perspective because you're not helping yourself, which you should be doing. So, I guess they were talking about the time thing. We have a version of, you know, we can't just this and this kind of thing. And I was showing him like the way we perceive time in this the full sense of it is like we look at our watches and we say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and we think we're in the future or whatever time has passed in the past, but not realizing when we look at the sun, the sunlight that we look at is in 8 seconds before it takes 8 seconds before it comes to us. So we're already in the past tense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So when we look out into space, we are actually looking into the past.
Mhm.
By just looking out into space, we're just looking into the past. Because the further we can see into space, we can see further into time. And this is how they're operating, how they're functioning, how they're trying to manipulate certain things to make you think that they're actually having the source of really when we have the source. You know? So these are the things that I like to sit down and reason and put brothers like the iron thing, because you can't reason with everybody. Like, oh, I'm talking over here, I start talking certain things. Hold on a second. You know, like, where is getting all this stuff from? Like, I think they start questioning is like, you're not supposed to have an opinion, or you're not supposed to have a sense of self.
Especially if you're not thinking what everybody else is thinking.
So, yeah. So, it's great. Yeah, man. So I just love this this environment here that I'm invited in. So I'm happy that I did. I appreciate that.
Yes, love.
So we give thanks, you know.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
So is it, I think it's in the UN Declaration, right? And it says everybody's born equal in something. Is it that one?
That everybody's born.
No. Everyone's born equal. Like everyone's born equal or something.
Yeah, that's Declaration of Independence. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay. So
Everybody's born equal and free and
yeah.
yeah.
Everyone's equal in something. Okay, so the person that they call the queen over there, right? They have no passport and thing, acts sovereign and goes on sovereign, and her family goes on sovereign. She's a person too now.
Mm-hmm.
So if they say that everyone's born equal, doesn't that mean everybody's sovereign? Unless you don't want to be.
Right.
Wouldn't everybody be born sovereign?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then that's why they mislabel everybody person.
Yeah.
So they don't have access to their sovereignty.
Okay.
Yeah. No, come just like, it's just like right here in front of your. So
Yeah.
everyone's speaking.
And this is their word, not, you know what I mean? It's like, so, and then when I find out the queen's grandmother is a Moabite, it's like,
And Elizabeth the First is
Yeah.
she's half Moorish. She's mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this, the queen's son, you see how he's got that red hair?
Oh, that's from too much Africanism now.
You know that.
But you know the funny thing is, why did you mention that? Harry knows.
I know.
Oh yeah. I already know
That's
that.
why he went to, you know,
Don't you realize what that is? That's them remarrying back and trying to grab here now.
Thank you very much, sir.
Omar.
And he's trying to grab onto everything.
Check the printer for me. Check the printer.
is coming here. He got to follow. She's coming.
I would say something about the
They've changed the empire because they realize that we are waking up.
Yeah. You know the code for that?
First, we were calling for repatriation. Yeah, first we were calling for repatriation. Yeah, but we ain't dying so much more than what we need right now because we are the people of this land. So we're going to repatriate and go.
Exactly.
Well, that's all. It's only a distraction.
That's a distraction.
It's only a minute amount of us who will gravitate to that energy. Everybody else is still on the back to Africa.
Yeah.
Not knowing that this is that.
This is Kemet too, right
Yeah.
here, man.
Yeah.
This is the land of weed.
Is it true? Like it tricks you because there's a lot of different nationalities or cultures here.
Yes.
The environment
Legal paper.
and the
Yeah, documentation. They have to document. That's what they do.
the climate tricks you.
Yes.
So they see like, okay, it's hot. In Africa, there's lions running around, there's jungle, like so this must be the source, and life was here and everything is here, and this is the hub. But over here it's the same, pretty much the same thing, just that nature has accommodated close.
Yes.
So there's more difficulties there. Nature has to do its thing to make sure that those hosts are being able to sustain themselves. So it has to be cold to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But nature is a thing that is more of adaptation. Fluid. So it works within itself.
Yeah.
Right? So like
Why would the planet be warmer and more happier? Why would that be a concern for all these nations?
You get up in the morning, man, it's cold this morning, man. The thing's probably not in properly.
Hmm?
The bottom shelf's probably not in properly. No.
Our state of mind.
Right, and this is what when you wake up in the morning, this is what you inform me, Yeah, right? yeah. All the weather is this morning. So when they keep echoing these things in your ear, you won't hear nothing else.
Yeah.
Right? So we get,
You wanna check the TV.
you want to check on the TV, like,
Yo, check those out. Hey, yo, Omar.
you know, so they're looking for something to try to sidetrack you all the time. You know, like, you're conscious. So
Some of those papers you put in have stuff on it, Omar. Some of those papers have stuff on it.
Man.
40 degrees every day. Getting recharged. I'm like, boy, I need some.
You said that's what climate change. Oh, climate. But you gotta look at, okay, money insurance will always be changing. And we as humans, we are people of habit. Right? We human beings are beings of habit. We adapt to stuff. You know, we're not always used to it. We're not always, you know what I mean? So we adapt ourselves to the economy start like we put it, you know what I mean? So I don't know. There's so much that we can talk about.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Somebody in the chat was asking the question about explaining the old time religion. Because Juali said our religion is Islamism, and is it an old religion or a new religion? And he said it's the old time religion.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's been always been within you because it's of the. This is my perspective. I think Islam is of it teaches you everything of the universe, of the what's around you, to make you conscious, to make you a better being, to make so you can move and navigate within the environment.
Right.
That's what I've noticed. I mean,
As far as Islam.
what Islam is, yeah, and what I'm trying to learn, you know, well, everything is out there, you know. So what I've seen with Islam is like, even though they're saying like, you know, Christianity is in there before, but that is just the battle between man as themselves, because, you know, we have to
That's modern day Islam.
Modern-
And it's a conventional Christianity.
Christianity, because they're not practicing everything. They
So
took
all
away.
those two things is Islam.
Yeah. And then they separated and then put one over there and say, Orthodox is because separation, right? Why do we keep separating ourselves from ourselves?
You can read that. Okay, you can read that. So
I guess that's
yes, you got it came up.
Because you don't have the driver.
Yeah, so I got it installed. Or I got it printed out somewhere else.
You want me to do this?
Yeah, we could do it in next week or something.
This one man just realized and like, oh, there's a night planet over there without even anybody telling it.
Yeah.
There's a true evolution of science. Doesn't matter what, black, red, pink, purple, or blue. You know, it's just, you know, everybody's 52% African by
They're part of it, yeah.
51% of the people, whatever, right? We all belong on the free of that also, therefore we all have 51%. It's not. It's not right.
Right.
No. No. Yeah. It has to be 100%. And 100%, yeah.
I'm more just gonna read Noble Juali's interpretation of Islam.
Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to
Recognize
his duties toward God, Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the superman duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is premeditated.
You know when you're on the playground? When you're on the playground? Or you talk on the playground? Yeah, you could read that like that.
The region of
Loud.
peace,
Loud.
very name Islam means peace. The goal of a man's life according to Islam is peace with everything. Peace with Allah and peace with man.
And then this one. Yeah.
Don't forget
The
love.
cardinal
Yeah, that one.
doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father, Allah. We believe in one God, Allah, who is all God, all mercy, all power, yet perfectly and only, all wisdom, all knowledge, all truth. These are some of his great attributes so far as we can understand.
Islam, man. Thanks. Right? So that was Noor Ali's article on what is Islam. You know what I mean? Same idea. Right?
Yes.
It's not if it's the religion of peace, then he's taking us back to having peace within ourselves first,
Yes.
so that there could be peace in society or whatever.
Sure.
Right?
I have one question. It's not a little controversial. Here goes. I've heard the word Rakan is referred to in terms of, is it womb? Is it the right translation? What word? Rakan. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm going to try and explain or say the prayer. When you guys say the prayers, is that the way it goes?
No, that's the dogmatic prayer.
Oh.
That's the QURAN.
Correct.
The Muslims. Yeah, the conventional.
See, that's what I want to.
The pray 5 times a day,
Yes,
face the
yes,
east,
yes,
get the
yes.
mat and all that stuff and whatever.
Okay.
That's
You bind yourself
yeah.
to the religion.
Even though
we're not knocking, but that comes after.
yeah.
You know, so we're doing what kind of comes first. Like that applies. It's necessary, or so it would be there. Right?
Yeah.
For those who it was designed for, those who want to practice it. But
Yeah. Or we would say that's for the believers and we deal with fruition.
Yeah, because the believers, when they're seeing their prayer, when you interpret certain words, like what I was trying to say, mention, it says womb. Right? So I was kind of confused of why they would, Allah and then, God and woman. So I was like, wait a minute. I can't put those two together.
No, the because they're really not exposing that Allah is the womb.
Birthplace.
And it's not a masculine ideal like that. You know what I mean?
It's nature, creation.
It's creation. You know what I mean? Jesus is the Son because he's S-U-N, not S-O-N.
Not 7, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So and then that's getting into, the split with the whole religious thing, because you have the people who are exoteric.
Yes.
Go and just read the Bible and whatever, put the Bible open on
I
one
think
page,
everything
right?
about it.
And then you have the esoteric,
Yes.
where they're applying the knowledge that came from, the ethers or the ancients or the whatever. It's not just, at the podium talking. It's actually the application of that supreme wisdom.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get.
Yeah.
I want to get to that.
So people,
more like,
because that's the misconception, that when people hear Moors, they think about the guys in the mosque and whatever, because they hear us say Allah, they hear us say Islam,
yes,
and they think that it's limited to the believer perspective. But there's another aspect of it.
So that's what I
I was also going to say,
but that's Amin Ra and all those other techniques of
Yeah.
How many different people would use the word Amen? So just because you hear it, because all these Christians,
or Shalom, or
right.
I was also,
just different words, like
expression.
somewhere.
The North use
words, and you might use it.
Yeah, you're right, because the North use, as you travel, if you go like places like North Africa, as you go down, they add extra letters to the when they come to the West, they add extra letters to the same word, which gives it a different sound, but it's the same meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Additional ways of saying it. Like we would say, so be it, right? One other places was translated, God willing.
Yeah, or let it be so.
Right. But you know what I mean?
Same concept.
Same concept.
Like when and then you translate a different language, it's like,
you're like, what was this? That is all good, but is it good for us to have it that way? Because if you say the right the first time, okay, right. But I'm not saying that's the right way, but let's say like example, let God do it, right? Is the right way, and that's working. And then the next, generation or next race, they're going to change that sound. Do you get the same resonance from that as well?
No,
You don't
you
get
definitely
those
lose.
secret-
You definitely lose some of it. Yeah.
No, the vibration is that when I speak English, I feel mad. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I'm not asking, like, I feel like I'm going over myself, and
Yeah.
it's a struggle.
Yeah. And then that's also with the thing of the with the language, just like with the esoteric and religion, is with the language, it's connotative, denotative. What words are you saying and what do they mean? Like you're gonna go, the example we use is no matter what department store you go to today, they have a baby goat section. And everybody's cool with it. Everybody's cool with it.
Yeah.
And
That's the thing that's happening now.
Because that's what it is, you know what I mean? It's the kids section and, children are kids.
Yes.
All right, well, maybe in the fiction world, but in the reality, people call children.
Yes.
They don't call them baby goats and then assume that you mean a child when you say that, when that's not a reality. So part of the language exorcism is going back to the denotative meaning of things. Yeah, because once we're saying English language, we should be looking at mastering that, not English language messed up, so we're not gonna master it. We'll just keep talking messed up. You know what I mean? Without correcting
That's not elevation.
that's not elevation. But again, that's part of our people's defense mechanism. When they don't want to deal with their shit, they just cop out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just tap out and not deal with it. Opposed to let's deal with this issue or these issues, or you know what I mean? Let's really look at it. And like you're saying, when we look at it, we realize that, oh damn, it's not even them, it's us. It's us that call, you know what I mean? A great man once just said, I'm bad, and people knew that good, but it became the thing to be bad.
He's actually asking a question, I'm bad. And then he's saying, I'm bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to give me the information, and then say, yes, you're bad.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, brother, you only got bad. You better come out and say, you're
You know what I mean? Right? Because and it's it'll correct.
Yes.
Once you start applying what the actual what it actually means. You know what I mean? Going back to the thing with what we call ourselves. We can say, John and Jeff and Frank and whatever.
Every
but
time I call him King before, he used to be like, okay, man. So you think you in Rome? So now, I'm right here, but
no, he's got his crown now.
We are royalties. We are from a royal nation. Why you look at me and we have to support approach each other?
Yeah. Straight.
Like that, right? Because this is how they, your highness, and that's how they see.
Right.
They
Honor their self too. You know what I mean? Boosting their self up.
Boosting themselves up, but they ain't got nothing to boost up
Yeah.
anyways,
So they took that.
I'm sorry I put the people down, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But reality.
Yeah. That's just what it is.
Yeah. When you're speaking openly, you have to be, as polite as you can.
No.
I'm not trying to offend anybody or anything like that. So.
And then again too, once the nationality part is in us, then it eliminates that. Because even that idea of, well, I'm speaking truth, but I don't want to offend anybody or whatever like that is because of what we know the truth speakers get when they talk or whatever. You know what I mean?
So I'm making sure.
Yeah, like just checking that.
I don't want to have to deal with you outside, brother. Hey man, you be talking all that stuff in there?
but it removes that, the guilt is removed.
Yeah.
Once you know you're speaking from a perspective of sincerity. You know what I mean? You're not talking truth to be hurtful or whatever. You're talking truth so that other generations or other individuals or whatever could pick up on that vibration and start resonating with truth. Because if truth did all this for me, it's only natural that you give it to somebody else. You know what I mean? So that it could work for them too. But then again, we know about the burnout syndrome, where you're not gonna kill yourself trying to relay this truth to people who don't want it. You're gonna give it to who wants it. Whoever doesn't want it, it's all good. I'll still come to the barbecue and all that stuff and whatever. You know what I mean? But but know that I'm coming with the tray of vegan stuff. You know what I mean? They're not gonna have the pork tray. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it's gonna be. Just accept my position.
Yes.
Even though you want to be in the lie or the illusion or the whatever, that's cool. Do your thing.
Yes.
But you're gonna accept the truth part that I'm resonating on.
Yes.
Any other comments, questions? If anybody in the chat has anything, send those questions up. Oh yeah, and also too, they just put out a hardcover Quran on Khalifa Media. So we're gonna be looking to get these ones in soon. Send that around.
Bigger prints?
Huh?
Bigger print?
Bigger than the pocket. How big? How much more bigger? Yeah.
The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of his higher self and lower self. This is uniting the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans. The keys of civilization was and is in the hands.
Start that one again. Loud. Don't forget loud.
The key of civilization was and is in the hands of Asiatic nations. The Moorish, who were ancient nobles and the founders of the Holy City of Mecca.
Yeah.
The Egyptians, who were
Hamites,
and of the directed descent of Muslim. The Arabians, the seed of Hagar.
Yeah.
Japanese and Chinese. And Hindus of India, the descendants of ancient Canaanites, Hittites, Mongols, and from the Canaan. The Asiatic nations and countries in North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans in North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South Africa, South America,
Nicaraguans,
and
the
natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca. Beginning from Muhammad, the first founder, community of Islam, the king of Islam, by the command of the great universal God alone.
Islam. Somewhere, does any other questions, comments? Gonna get everybody so we can do the prayer. So again, we have our February road trip to do our correcting Black history lecture in Ottawa. So that's gonna be, what's that date again, Omar? 20.
This year, Andra is still going to lock down.
Oh, it's still firming. All right, cool.
Firming it up. It's probably more, or it's gotta be at the 22nd or 29th. I'm hoping, and then we've got our vernal equinox celebration in Montreal on the 21st of March.
Stand up and face the east.
You guys look like you're about to present something for us.
And then as well as probably we'll be doing a Hamilton trip, obviously with the Moors.
Yeah. Hamilton coming up soon.
Probably looking at Hamilton on one of the Sundays for the next visit. So those are the three things that we've got coming.
Please rise instead of everybody standing.
Peas and rice.
Peas and rice. Peas and rice. You're hungry, huh? You hungry?
True. Peace, freedom, and justice. Along with my protection, my guide, and my salvation.
By night,
And by day, His holy prophet, no Jolly,
Ashe, Islam.
It's
Islam,
actually
Morris. Is it for?
And do what it is you do.
I'm from the Antilles, just for being on vacation.
Oh, for real? Okay. How do you call it?
I have on the left, two on the right.
Doing some research on the
A law for the universe.
Some very, very true.
Want to end the stream?
Okay.
Want to end the stream?
Yeah, click that.
You don't have no temple in the Antilles.
No, but you can definitely give me some of that.